Welcome to episode 18 of the Andy Beshear Podcast. Remember, you can download us on all major platforms, but please go to our YouTube channel, Andy Beshear Podcast, and subscribe. Today is a really fun episode. For the first part, you're not going to hear about any politics at all because we have U of L basketball coach Pat Kelsey and U of L athletic director Josh Heird. We plus John Rabinowitz have known each other a while, and so you're going to hear four friends talking about the changes in college athletics and even talking about how we try to be present with our families after coming home from stressful jobs. Then I'm going to have our conversation with the Johns where we'll talk about redistricting, tariffs, the jobs report, and even the presidential physical fitness test. And then Will Beshear is going to teach us some new lingo. So this is a great episode. I hope you enjoy it. This is the Andy Beshear Podcast. On this episode, we're welcoming a couple of our friends, Pat Kelsey, the head coach of the University of Louisville men's basketball team, and Josh Heird, the athletic director for the university. So folks, with the guests this week, no politics, just college athletics. Thank you all for joining the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Coach, why don't you start by telling us about your coaching journey? I was just down in Charleston, South Carolina, where you still have an amazing reputation. How did you become a Division I University of Louisville ACC basketball coach?
I think it starts with my playing career, and I tell this joke a lot. Whenever I get introduced, they talk about my coaching career, not as much my playing career, but that's because I missed 1,000 points by 912. So I wasn't the best player in the world, but I played for a man named Skip Prosser, who was the head coach at Xavier, and then he became the head coach at Wake Forest, and he was the best teacher I've ever had. I feel like I got a great education at Xavier. I was a business major, graduated cum laude. I'm bragging a little bit right
There you
now.
go.
But the greatest class that I ever took was his practice floor every day from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And that inspired me more than anything to go into coaching. I started at the bottom, like they say, now we're here.
Did you have one of those jobs where you almost had to pay them to coach?
Yeah, one of those. I was the freshman basketball coach at Elder High School in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wow.
And somehow 1 year later, I was there 3 years, and Skip hired me as director of basketball operations at Wake Forest. And he said that was the biggest meteoric rise in coaching history. Freshman basketball at Elder to the ACC in 1 year. And then just loved what I did every day. And the Lord blessed me with really good situations. I was around great people and, became a head coach at Winthrop University and then became the head coach at the College of Charleston. And then here I am at one of the most storied programs in the history of college basketball, the University of Louisville. Go Cards.
Josh, when you told me about your experience in the past, you've also talked about great mentors.
Yeah, it's something that's extremely, extremely important, I think, for anybody as they're just trying to climb the ladder, whether it's their career or their family, whatever it may be, just somebody, and usually it's going to be more than one person that you can lean on and say, hey, I'm experiencing this or that, and maybe you didn't have that exact experience, but talk to me a little bit about how something similar you navigated, something along those lines, because experience in life, they're all different, but they're all pretty similar too, as far as the challenges that we're going to face professionally, personally. And so it's always good to have those folks that you can lean on and just say, hey, help me out here.
Tell us a little bit about your mentors along your journey from Villanova to Louisville.
Yeah, I've got to start with my dad,
Okay.
even before I got to Villanova, just because he just taught me what it means to work hard, to be honest, to do the right thing, all those things that I think we all try to do, or at least a large majority of us try to do. And then from there, I would tell you, I'll take just stops along the way before I get to Villanova and athletics. George Phillips, who was U.S. attorney for a number of years in Mississippi, and then was legal counsel for Senator Thad Cochran. So we are getting into politics a little bit here. But I share this line with people. He was just, once again, I think it was one of those situations where I was calling him asking for some advice. And he said, Josh, don't ever forget that everybody deserves an opportunity. And it it resonated with me. You know, no matter who you are, what you've been through, everybody deserves an opportunity. And so then getting into college athletics, uh, my time at Villanova was really, really impactful. Just from the leadership as a whole, it was the first job that I was really in. You know, I was here for 10 years and then went to Villanova, but I didn't really have that experience with the presidential level or the board level. It was really within the athletic department. So being able to be at Villanova and see the leadership from the top down, from the president and Father Peter to the athletic director and Mark Jackson. There's another gentleman, Father Rob, Jay Wright, just that whole ecosystem. And they were aligned on nearly everything they did. And it was really pretty similar to the things I just talked about with my dad, right? We're going to do the right thing. We're going to give people an opportunity. We're going to be transparent, fair, honest. And that's, you know, as I've had the chance to lead this athletic department, that's what we try to do here.
I remember when you were launching the coaching search, that what you told me was you were only going to bring somebody in who had that character and who would build a great culture. And now I've seen a coach over here really build that out and have success in the first year. Talk to us about the importance of culture, of the expectations for the team and leadership.
You know, Josh talked so much about alignment and the alignment that he had at Villanova that he has here. From my first conversations with him, you know, there was a great understanding that we were two peas in a pod in a lot of ways. Different in a lot of ways in that he runs 13 miles a day, and I've run 13 miles in my life. But, you know, I just appreciate it. First of all, the way he went about the entire coaching search. You know, he did it his way. It wasn't the search firms. It wasn't all that. He was going to have conversations with people of interest, and we had a ton of them, you know. And then when we finally had the last one, and I started getting the feeling that he was going to offer me the job, and he was talking about all this other stuff, and I said, Josh, are you offering me the job? And he goes, I'm offering you the job. And I stood up and went crazy and did a backflip. And that's probably where our alignment veers a little bit, because I've been described as making coffee nervous. You do have a lot in it. I have, and Josh does too, you know, because he runs 1,000,000 miles a day and he never stops working. I can text him at 12:30 a.m. and he hits me back within about 4 seconds, which shocks me all the time. I try not to do that very much to him. But, you know, culture, obviously, he's built an unbelievable culture here at the University of Louisville Athletics. There is such alignment amongst the head coaches. You know, Jeff Brom has become a great friend of mine, unbelievably supportive. I got calls from the head women's soccer coach and the head field hockey coach on Saturday, a day after we all finished our summer training. And they asked me to come in and talk to recruits. And they said, what time do you need me to be there? And they said 9 a.m. I said, I'll be there at 8:30 because they would do the same exact thing for us. And it's so apparent that culture is prevalent within the athletic department, that we are all on the same team. We fight for each other. We root for each other. We support each other. And then, you know, each organization has a culture. You know, some are bad, some are good. We like to think ours is by design and not by default. By default, you throw spaghetti. It's very intentional. You throw spaghetti at the wall and sees what sticks. That's not what we're going to be about. Our players, if I brought them all in this room and I could ask them what our standards are, what does ABC mean? Academics, basketball, character. I could ask them what our cultural blueprint is, and they would recite it with their eyes closed in their sleep. Relentless effort, competitive excellence, and the power of the unit, the uncommon commitment to the person next to you. That's way more important than scheme. That's way more important than pick and roll coverage. That's way more important than your set play package. It's how you operate. It's what your DNA, it's what your beliefs are, and that's what we try to be about.
John, we got to see how the players respond to that energy and that culture firsthand, especially in a pregame speech that Coach let us come in and watch, or Josh snuck us in to watch, but how prepared they were in the game plan and excited that they were to play. What you've been able to do, the two of you, is one of the biggest one-year turnarounds that I've ever seen in college basketball. But then, Land,
a heck of a great recruiting class and transfers. So how are you feeling about this next
It
year?
kept their players, kept their stars.
Very true.
Yep.
We're excited. We had a great summer. We just finished 8 weeks of training, and we're talented. We have an experienced team. You talk about a lot of people talk about the decorated recruit that Mike Brown is, but he's a very, very good player, but he's got veteran guys around him. So we think we have the makeup of a championship team.
Josh, the basketball program isn't the only winning program at U of L right now. Obviously, they made the NCAA championship first year under this coach, as did your women's team. The baseball team went to the college World Series and took down Vanderbilt and some other really great teams. The volleyball team went to the national championship. You've got programs all across the board that are really succeeding. So, what's the secret?
Hire really good coaches. And that's obviously an oversimplification, but it's not. I think I look at all of our head coaches as basically running their own business and trying to give them as many resources as you can possibly give them. Now, every coach that we have is going to say that they need more.
They want all the NIL money.
Yes, amongst other things. But Pat hit the nail on the head. I do think we have created a culture where they understand, hey, I may not get everything that I want, but it might be benefiting this program over here, so I'm okay with that. And I think it's really hard to develop that culture when you have a bunch of type A, highly, highly competitive people running their own organizations. And I didn't hire Pat to worry about the field hockey team. I didn't hire Justine, or I didn't hire Justine at all. I didn't hire the track coach to worry about the basketball program. That's not their job, right? And that's where, for me, I say that's the administration's job to help them understand, like, hey, Pat, I know you would love some more NIL money, but if we can do something over here with football or whatever sport it may be, that's going to help the department as a whole. And when you can get coaches that they may not like it, but they understand it, that's where I think you really start to see them interact and say, "Hey, how do we all become successful?" And I do feel pretty good about that right now. But you look at the coaches that we have. Obviously, Coach Kelsey, Coach Brom, winning 19 games in 2 years with the football program. Uh, our new volleyball coach, who is just, I think he's going to do a phenomenal, phenomenal job. I think he's going to pick up right where Danny left off. Dan McDonald just finished his 19th year. Jeff Walls, I could go on and on and on. Our track team, our men's and women's program just finished in the top 25 for the first time ever for both programs. Arthur Albiero, what he's doing with our swimming and diving program. He's actually coaching the U.S. swim team right now in Singapore, I believe. It's a lot of fun to be a Louisville Cardinal right now.
As a proud alumni, one thing I think of when I went to school there, it was kind of like the coaches seemed to be there as a stepping stone. Now it's a final destination. And so when you see the coaching staff top to bottom, it's really impressive what you've built, what you continue to build, and how you maintain. And so even the scheduling now, the teams that they're playing, they're not hiding from anybody.
I often think about how different the world is from when we were growing up. The computers and cell phones, how much it's changed. It feels in a way that college sports have changed that much over the last 10 years alone. It may be in part of the play in basketball, where it seems like the 3-point shot is much more dominant than it used to be. But it's also this era of NIL and the transfer portal. Talk to us about how you adapt.
It doesn't matter if it's NIL or the 3-point shot. We talk about it pretty frequently because it's something I do think we think very similar on. Evolve or die.
Mhm.
And you can say, hey, this isn't why I got into college athletics, or it's different than what I expected it to be. Well, this is what it is right now. And you can either say, hey, we're going to adapt to it and we're going to navigate it, or we're not. And if you're not, you're going to fall behind.
That sounds very Game of Thrones. You either
I-
win or you die.
But I tell our staff all the time, like, bitching about it's not going to do anything. Okay. And so if you want to complain about it, then you need to really think about whether or not you want to be in this industry.
You got to figure it out.
Is it probably how we all expected it to be 5-10 years ago when we got into it?
Mhm.
No, but it's where it is today. And so we're going to navigate it the best that we can. And that's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to hire people the same way.
And speaking of the NIL, as from the Morgan and Morgan side of things, you say I plug stuff every time. So
You do.
yeah,
Do a good job.
We're big believers in it. We love it as a corporate partner, but it's year over year, even week after week now, it seems that, to your point, it's evolving and it's changing. And I think the only way you see some of these schools that are falling behind is because they're not willing to adapt. Now, one thing we've talked about all the time is where it must be really challenging for a school like Louisville is how you deal with the $20.5 million cap and how you divvy it up amongst the teams in the sports.
Yes. More than once, I've heard that the Big East is spending a lot more than we're spending on basketball.
But I was wondering that.
I have to think there's some advantages too. So you come in last year, Coach, and you're able to put together a whole new team based on that transfer portal.
You better.
Yeah.
You better. 5-6 years ago when you took over a job and the program was in the state that it was, you'd be given, some rope to, hey, this might take 2 or 3 years and we're going to be patient. That's not the world anymore, especially just because you mentioned your ability to rebuild very quickly because of the transfer portal. It does giveth and taketh away. The support that we get here, the resources that we're given, how attractive the University of Louisville and the tradition that we have here is, we knew that we could get good and we could get good really quickly. It is a different world. There is elements of professional sports. There's no question, but Josh knows this, and we talk about this all the time. That 45 by 94 foot rectangle is still my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And the 19, 20, 21, 22, Case and Pryor's case, 36 or whatever he is now, they're still in the formative years of their life. And there's a business component to it, but just like Skip Prosser and the coaches that poured into me as I was developing throughout my life made a major, major impact on my life, I still feel like we can have that same impact on the future of the young men that are under our charge, and that'll never change. I don't care how much professional sports becomes college sports. It's still my classroom.
It also seems that the pressures that the athletes face have only grown. In the age of social media and probably hearing about different NIL deals that other people are getting, constantly trying to weigh your worth, unfortunately, probably on some of those things. Do you all see the athletes themselves going through more than in the past?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a large part of it's probably social media.
Yes.
I think if you have a good culture, that you can sort through the NIL money component and say, hey, this is, we're leaving that at the door. And if your culture's strong, that's what happens. But social media, you can't tell an 18-year-old to not look at their phone or not get on social media. It's impossible, right? I'm amazed. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I'm amazed at how quickly they don't have phones, but they pick mine up, they pick my wife's up, and I'm like, put the phone down. And so 18, 19, 20, they really do view some of their value through the social media lens. And as I always say to a fan who's complaining about a student athlete, I can't believe this happened or that happened. It's like, imagine being 19 years old. And don't give me this, they're making a bunch of money and, they had it. No, you're 19 years old and you missed a shot and you've got millions of people saying, I can't believe you missed that shot. Like that's really hard to cope with because once again, they don't have that ability to just say, hey, I'm putting my phone down. And they've got people left and right saying, you lost this game, you lost money for me. Because that's the other piece of it is
Sports betting.
Exactly. And so
And their kids.
And
Right.
their kids. You're listening to the Andy Beshear Podcast. This week, we have Louisville's Pat Kelsey and Josh Heird. Pat, in this first year at Louisville, did you have a favorite moment, a moment where you knew it was all clicking together and this was going to be a really fun team?
My favorite moment, and there was lots of them, and it's funny, we talk about the transfer era, and many times players come into a program and stay for 1 year, and you hear fans and they lament about the old days when guys would come in as a freshman, they'd stay till their senior year, and it's like you don't get to know the players. Well, the team last year was full of great personalities. They played hard. They represented this city in a first-class manner, and one guy amongst a bunch of them that I would point out is Chucky Hepburn. Chucky played 3 years at Wisconsin, was a decorated player there, won a championship, transferred to Louisville for 1 year, and he happened to be on the revival train and part of the year that, we reestablished what Louisville basketball is all about. And he was beloved by the fan base, his hair, his charisma, his game, his success, his personality. And when we were playing Stanford on senior night, and, there was 14,000 people in our first game, and there was a couple months later, there was 16, 17, 18, there's 20,000 people at the Yum Center. And Chucky checks out of the game for the last time at the Yum Center in front of the great Cardinal fans, the best fans in college basketball. And he's getting ready to run to the sideline, and Peyton Siva kind of like winks at him because they had talked about it ahead of time. And Chucky runs back to the bird, the dunking bird, the Cardinal on center court. And he gets down, he kisses the court, and like,
Wow.
I got goosebumps. I get them right now when I talk to people around the city and they talk about this year's team and they bring up that moment, tears. It's pretty darn cool.
Pretty
Yeah, that's
special.
cool.
Josh, when you look back at this last year and everything that happened, what type of expectations do you have for the athletic programs moving into all these new seasons? The bar's high.
Yeah. No, but that's you're chasing excellence, right? In anything that you do. And I talk to our coaches all the time about, are we making progress? And that isn't always measured and judged in wins and losses. Um, you think about, let's take basketball for example. Um, the expectation for this basketball program isn't to exit in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but this team last year will be one that was remembered not for that first round loss, but for everything that they did to get this program back and the amount of progress that they made. And so, what does that progress look like for each of our programs? And say, all right, can we make some progress in this area or that area? And it's not, you won 9 games last year. I expect you to win 10 this year. It's too hard to measure it in wins and losses. As I say, the other team's trying to win too.
We were talking on the way up here. What we kind of laughed. We said, you see these preseason rankings coming out, and we can't imagine how people can have any idea. I know you have good players, but how can you know how good you will be as a team with all the transfers coming in? How can you rank one way or the other? How are you guys always remaining competitive? And how do you know you'll have a team?
Josh mentioned Jay Wright, and it's funny, during the interview process, I actually talked to Coach Wright. There's so many moments where I go, holy cow, how did all this happen? Like, all of a sudden I'm on a podcast with the governor of Kentucky. This is nuts. But Jay Wright, I read it in a book one time, and this was after he won his second national championship, and the media asked him, national championship or bust, right? I mean, what else? You've won 2 in a row. I mean, that's the standard. That's the goal for the season. And he said, our goal is never a number of wins or a national championship. Our goal for the season is to have the number 1 culture in the country. And he said, if we establish that, and that's really hard to do. That might be harder than winning a national championship, to have that standard of excellence every single day in what you do. But his whole thing was, if your approach is about excellence every single day and those habits are built, the outcomes will take care of themselves. That'll put us in the best position, the best chance to win a national championship. But it's just that standard every single day. So
He won 2,
he won 2.
but he had to wait a while to build that culture.
He did. I was actually telling the story to somebody the other day, that 2016 they win it, 2018 they win it, 2017 they were the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, and most people don't remember that because they just had a terrible matchup in the second round against Wisconsin, and literally missed a running shot in the lane to tie it as time expired. But you think about having 3 years there where they were arguably the best team in the country. It's hard to believe. Yeah.
So let me get a little more personal. You all both have families, kids that you love, wife that you love, but you have really high stress jobs, which I know a little bit about. How do you compartmentalize that and try to be present when you come home to the family?
You want to take this one?
Because I'm asking for a friend.
You're looking at me. I do have 3 daughters. I get it.
Well, the really cool thing was when we were off air before this, we all have teenage daughters, and you guys start telling some stories about being a teenage dad, and I go, this was the best conversation I've had all day to know that I'm not all by myself. You guys are going through the same thing. Group therapy. There's no such thing as balance, is true balance. People say there's got to be there's no such thing. My bride, Lisa, the best recruit I ever signed, we dated for a long time, when I was an assistant and grinding and trying to make my way in this business, and she kind of knew what she signed up for. But it's the old quality over quantity. When you're home, you try to be present. That's hard, right? Because you got to make calls to recruits and all that, but it's just the lifestyle. And Josh is unbelievable because he allows my personal life to be a part of my professional life. Like my son, Johnny, he leaves school every day at 3:00 and he comes to the practice facility and he's there all day, and he leaves late at night with me, and he goes home, gets his homework done during the day. So if Lisa, when you watch this, and he lets Johnny sit on the sideline. He lets him be in the locker room. I mean, there's not all athletic directors in the country who allow that to happen. But I mentioned that alignment. I know how much family means to him. He's a phenomenal father and husband and family man, a great mentor and role model for me.
It's something that I've had to practice, and I'm a long way from perfecting it. Abby can attest to that. I laugh because Abby is fiercely loyal. And when talking about not being able to handle social media,
Yes.
it's like,
Make sure she does not read the comments.
that's exactly it.
And if she feels bad about the comments on Louisville, have her come read my.
That's, but I mean, it's like, can you believe this idiot said that? I'm like, yeah, I can. But Pat hit the nail on the head. I think being present. And once again, when you've got all the things that you've got going on, and we've got a fraction of the things going on compared to what you have going on. I say it all the time. We're not curing cancer. We're not splitting the atom. We're in college sports. Like, we're lucky to be in college sports. And yes, it's extremely, extremely important, but let's not lose sight of what it is. And I think if you can do that, you can manage it a lot better. And so that's what I try to do, and make sure that people understand you've got one family, take care of them. There's going to be moments where it's like, hey, I might miss something at work, and guess what? The place isn't going to come crashing down. We're going to be okay. And that's also a tribute to staff around me, because I actually just came back from vacation, and there was a few times where I got a phone call and I didn't answer it. Texted, I said, hey, is the house on fire? And they're like, nope, just hit me over the next couple of days. And it's like, all right, they got it covered. And so I think when you can combine all those things, you start to kind of figure it out a little bit, but you're never going to have it figured out in jobs like this.
So if you all had to do something other in college sports, what would the job be?
Man, that's a great question. And I don't know if I've ever really thought about it.
I think you might be the horse industry. I don't know. I think you might be in the government sector too.
Yeah.
You follow it.
I do, and I enjoy it, but I think it's what I get to be a fan of.
I got it. A little bit removed.
Exactly.
Right now, that's probably a good thing.
I'm right where I want to be from a political standpoint.
What about you, Pat?
I would be the play-by-play announcer for the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, it's easy.
There we had it.
Nailed. We've talked about some of our favorite Reds players and how my son wears 11 because Barry Larkin.
How about 11?
And I wore 11 in between, except Barry played very well. Will plays well, and I was on a team.
Let's be very clear. Will got his athletic ability from his mother.
Which we all know. Very well.
It's been putting out almost every episode.
No one knows where he got his height, though, so we'll figure that out.
Well, when Will watches this, I get videos from your dad. He's a proud dad, but I love seeing his progress. And that last home run he hit in that tournament, that would have gone out in any park in the country, including Yellowstone. That was a bomb.
You could have called
That was awesome.
for the Reds. Favorite type of food?
I eat two things basically 5 days a week. It's Tostitos lime chips and macaroni and cheese. I eat like a 12-year-old. Abby lets me know this on a daily basis. But that's, as I say, that's why I run. So I can eat mac and cheese and Tostitos.
Literally like 13 miles a day. So he eats more food for a guy.
Yes.
It is him. It is unbelievable. I got to give a little shout out to my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio, a little Skyline Chili.
Okay.
Uh,
Like the chili cheese coney?
I go with a coney with onions and mustard.
Okay.
And then a little Grater's ice cream too, which is here in Louisville.
That's hard to beat. Hard to beat. We often ask people what their secret superpower is, and I'll give you a couple examples. Mine is only good one day a year. I can cook a Thanksgiving turkey better than anyone I know. My wife Brittany packs a suitcase better than anyone I know. We could be in Hawaii and there's a freak snowstorm, and she would have parkas for us. So what's that secret superpower that nobody knows?
Oh, the secret superpower that nobody knows. Man, you're asking some good questions. I should have watched a few more. I've watched a handful of them, but I so much.
Amy Klobuchar said that she didn't need much sleep, which would be wonderful.
It's funny. I was actually just getting ready to say that, because once again, Abby needs her 8 hours minimum, and for the life of me, I can't understand that. Like, I cannot comprehend. Like, what do you mean you can't just go off 5 hours sleep? So if I get about 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep, I feel great. Feel absolutely terrific. And I can assure you my wife would say that is not a superpower of mine.
We were talking about the presidential physical fitness test that's coming back, right? I have an uncanny knack for doing a ridiculous amount of pull-ups for a 50-year-old.
So listen,
I can credit.
if we has to do this,
Okay, humble brag. Superpower.
I am tapping Coach Kelsey in for my pull-ups.
Yes.
When we have to do
Doing the lifeline on the pull-up.
You are.
I think I could hit the sit-ups. I'm not sure about the pull-ups. And then I just go back to gym class and remember the rope, which was the beat of my existence.
I love it.
So we're at the beach last week, and I don't even know how we got on to this idea, but we literally had a contest to see who could do the most sit-ups in a minute. Me or Hadley. I still beat her. I was amazed.
And what did you tear, and how long will it
I was
take
sore
to heal?
for about 3 days. Yeah.
I remember trying to teach Will how to run the bases, and that explosive first step did not work out well for me.
So Hadley and Gus, we live in the same neighborhood, they are two of the most entrepreneurial. How old are they? 10 and 11?
8 and 10.
So yesterday we leave at about 8 a.m. and they're putting up their lemonade stand.
Oh.
We get back at about 6 p.m. and they are still rocking, grinding. And then at times they'll go door to door to sell the lemonade.
Oh, yeah.
The Heird kids are like,
So we had Mark Cuban on, and he went to his dad to get new shoes. His dad was drinking and playing poker with his friends. He said, "Why don't you get a job?" One of his friends said, "I've got some extra trash bags," and he's laughing and saying, "Why don't you go sell those to the neighbors?" And he does. And that was the start of his hustling. So maybe we have two Mark Cubans.
Oh, they came back yesterday, and I think they made $11.55. And then I started asking them what their operating costs were, and production costs and all that. But
So you're working on the net with them already?
oh yeah,
That was paid for by the Royal Bank of Dads.
I know one thing, Linda Kelsey, my mom was in town. So they might have made 11.27. That's what they told you. I think she dropped them a 20.
well that
They
was
might
each.
be
That was each, and there was 5 of them. So I mean, they made like $50
Good for them.
total
That's great.
with lemonade.
Coach, tell me a little bit about how you use social media. I know especially when you were announced as coach and then since. You know, in many ways, I see you as this mix of basketball coach and venture capitalist, and how you're out there getting attention.
I have this quote that I love, and there was a civil rights leader. He lives in Utah now. His name's Francis Davis, and I saw him give a graduation speech at the University of Louisville or Utah a couple years ago. And he grew up in rural Mississippi, very poor. His mom was his hero and his greatest teacher he ever had. And his quote was, "Be who you is and not who you ain't, because if you ain't who you is who you ain't. Be who you are." And
It's one of our rules.
It is.
be authentic. So I get on social media and, I just try to be myself a little bit. And I got a great creative team around me. Yeah, the resources we have. For instance, we went out and surprised and greeted season ticket holders the other day.
That's great.
And they had this really, really like detailed script. You could tell there was a ton of thought put into it. And we get in the van and we pull up to the first place. And I'm like, nah, we're just going to go off the rails. So we got real spontaneous. I just went in and kind of tried to be myself. And they edited carefully and ended up being pretty good.
Is that one of those times where you knock on the door, they look at you and say, "Has anyone ever told you you look like Pat Kelsey?"
So when I first got the job here, I was walking down the street and a student did just that. He came up to me and goes, "Hey, anybody ever tell you you look like that new basketball coach, Pat Kelsey?" And I was like, "Yeah, I get that all the time." Like roll my eyes. He goes, "Man, that must really tick you off."
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Wow. So favorite thing about living in Kentucky?
For me, it's Louisville. It really is, because it checks all the boxes. It's big enough that it's got anything you could ever want. Food scene's terrific. You just go through all the things that you might think you want or need in a really big city. Louisville has it. But you can be in the country literally in 10 minutes. So I love the simplicity and the ease of living in Louisville.
The Derby was like the coolest sporting event experience that I've ever experienced in my life. But I'm a little biased as a basketball coach. It's just the passion that this state has for hoop, Governor.
Yes.
We all know very well. There's houses divided. It's a state divided. That day in November this year, the state just stops in their tracks. And my wife went to the grocery store the morning of the Louisville, Kentucky game this year, and she was just like wearing jeans and a white shirt. Somebody went up to her and goes, "Where is your red? How can you not have red on?" I mean, it's the passion for basketball here is palpable, and it's like no other place in America.
All right, last question. You all have jobs that you might be able to go on vacation for a week, but if you could take a month, totally unplug, what's that bucket list thing that you do?
It would probably be just spend a month in Europe with Abby, with my wife. We were able to go to the Olympics last year, which was incredible.
I think I saw you at the airport leaving for that.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That is, yeah, I remember that. But just to be able to spend some time, no agenda, no itinerary. Hey, where do you want to go? Because there's just so many amazing places over there, so many amazing countries that I haven't been able to experience. Abby's been able to experience a number of them when she was on the U.S. national team for field hockey. But just traveling with her and spending a month doing it would be incredible.
It's a lot of pressure to have a good field hockey team.
Yeah.
You talk about competitive now.
Yes.
Like, and Hadley gets it too from her mom. Like what's cool about that, I know I'm getting off topic here. What's cool about the Heird kids, it's like old school. Like they go out in the morning, they play, they're playing different games, they're playing football, it's lemonade stands, it's like Americana. It's how it should be, it's how it used to be. So I really appreciate that about the Heird family. And I know you said you'd love to travel, Europe with Abby. I would love to travel around for a month and go to every Major League Baseball stadium. But guess what? My wife probably don't want to do that. So
I think Will and I will go with you.
all right, I go.
Oh, I can probably get us a ride.
Let's do it.
How many have you been to?
I haven't really been to a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably be more fun for me to just go on a road trip with the Reds and just watch every single game. Because I'm not a big MLB guy. I'm a Reds guy. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you can get us a ride, I'm down. Let's do
I
it.
think I can find.
I mean, where'd they just play?
Yeah, they just played at Bristol.
Bristol.
At the Sun Speedway. It would, they hyped that game. It was going to be the most fans they've ever had, and it rained out the Saturday. And
Biblical rain.
they had to come back on the Sunday.
It was still the largest crowd
Yeah.
for a regular season
But,
game.
but it was raining cats and dogs. They started the game for 12 minutes. The puddles all over the field. They had to shut it down. They ran out of food. It was bad.
Well, gentlemen, we're grateful you're here. Good luck in the season and seasons to come. I really appreciate you joining the Andy Beshear Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's go Cards. And if you're watching on YouTube, can we focus on Andy's shoes? Now we know. Red and black.
There's not a governor in the country that has a better shoe game than you. I can tell you that.
Without question.
There's a guy named Jared Polis that has a few, but I think mine are the right ones.
I know yours are the right ones.
You're listening to the Andy Beshear Podcast. We just wrapped up a sports-only segment with Pat Kelsey, the head coach of Louisville, and Josh Heird, the athletic director. And now we're going to switch to our conversation among friends, where we process all the things that happened last week, and we try to get you prepared for the week to come. And we've got some really interesting topics this week. I'm here with John McConnell, John Rabinowitz. I think John Rabinowitz is going to kick us off.
I'm going to kick it off, and I think we have to kick it off with the drama. It is Monday, so we don't know what's going to happen later this week, but the drama that's going on in Texas, where we have the advancement of a draft congressional map passed on Saturday to add potentially five new Republican seats. In response to that, it appears that on Sunday night, I think 51 Democrats flew across the country, and they're outside of Texas, so as to make sure that today there is not quorum to vote on these new maps. And so I'd like to hear what we think of this. I know that in 2022 it happened in Kentucky, so we can kind of relate it back, but it is unbelievable.
In 2022, it happened in Kentucky under a regular schedule. These things are supposed to happen every 10 years. This one, they're doing faster. They're doing faster because Donald Trump is worried about losing control of the House. And to me, this is cheating. This is knowing that you're losing in the middle of a game and trying to change the rules. And the precedent it's going to set, you can't unilaterally disarm. So what you're going to see are democratically led states doing the same thing. And to me, I think that's bad for democracy. Doing this every couple of years, which is what it'll lead into. And really, this type of redistricting, which is aimed at electing a certain party, is the definition of that party choosing their voters instead of voters choosing their congressman or woman. We had another really interesting story this week when the president got a bad jobs report. It showed that not as many jobs were being created under his economy, and it very much looks like tariffs are slowing down hiring and slowing down investment. When the president saw this jobs report, he had two options. The first one, he could say, maybe we should reconsider tariffs, but he didn't do that. Instead, he fired the person who ultimately signs off on the report.
And that's like the ultimate form of kill the messenger, right?
Yes.
The person just bringing the news to you.
Well,
Or
the almost
bad data.
ultimate form.
Almost, yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, this is week after week after week for us talking about tariffs. Like, which country's going to have the deal? How is it going to affect the consumer? And it has the trickle-down effect. I mean, last week we also found out what interest rates didn't change. They stayed the same.
That's right. And what the analysts are seeing about the impact of tariffs is pretty negative. And so businesses aren't going to invest with those types of outlooks. Some have even said a recession may happen that otherwise was not going to happen at all. The federal government is bragging about the amount of money that's coming in, but who's paying for it? We all know that other countries aren't paying for it. It's typically either the American company that's eating it, which isn't good for that company because it's not going to grow or pay higher wages, or they're passing it along to the consumer. So you could say, and the consumer's the American public, so you could say, hey, we did $70 billion of tariff revenue, but if that's $70 billion that the American people and American families are paying, then we're worse off.
And John, I mean, we talked about this a little before we started to shoot today. What are your thoughts on the tariff on Brazil?
Well, when you look at the tariff on Brazil, I mean, he's talking 50% because he's mad at the president there, and we actually have a deficit. Actually, they have a deficit with us, we have a surplus. So, it's not targeting people that take more. It's actually coming back that's going to hurt us on how much we can bring in.
And he's doing that one because there is a criminal prosecution of the former president, which he believes is not right. He seems to connect it to the prosecution that he went through. But what we know under the law is you have to have an emergency. You have to claim an emergency under some different situations for a president to have unilateral tariff power. Big question about whether he has it at all for any of these, but you certainly don't get it because you don't like what is happening in another country in a criminal prosecution.
And we still have no deal with China, no deal with Canada. Is that right?
Yeah, nothing in place formally, other than the fact that if you do run a business and you're trying to plan on making changes or growing, it's so difficult to do it because what we just stated of how do you plan on the uncertainty.
And I guess we don't see the manufacturing jobs we expected based on those labor numbers.
And to close us out, the return of the presidential physical fitness test. Y'all's take.
I wonder how long John can
I
hold.
could pass it right now, but I'm not sure. I don't want to.
We could do this on YouTube.
I knew it was going to happen if I said that.
We should
I
do
think
this.
the mile run would be a challenge. I can't remember the time frame, but the pull-ups. I mean, we got to nail the pull-ups, John.
I want to
we're gonna do
encourage
this.
people to go to our YouTube channel at Andy Beshear Podcast and subscribe. If we get enough subscribers, I bet I can get John and John in their July 4th attire doing the presidential fitness.
I don't know. That
fitness
shirt was
test.
like polyester. I can't do pull-ups in polyester.
I've never tried to jog wearing that kind of an outfit. I'm not sure how that's going to work with suspenders, but we can give it a shot. I'm in for
Well,
it.
you were saying earlier part of your test was pulling up on a rope.
I thought
mean,
I
when
had
did
to
they do
climb a
that?
rope for mine. I don't know.
So remember, you can download us on all major platforms, but make sure you go and subscribe to that YouTube channel because we might just do the presidential physical fitness test. You're listening to the Andy Beshear Podcast. And now, the return of everyone's favorite segment, Gen Z Lingo, where Will makes us all look 1,000 years old. Welcome back, Will.
Thank you. It's good to be back on the tiny couch again with John. Our word today is fam. F-A-M.
Fam.
So I know you guys are thinking like, oh, that obviously means family.
Seems
right?
easy.
Seems easy, right? Yeah, but
Right.
it's not.
Like, Will,
Okay.
you and I are fam.
We're fam. We're Andy Beshear Podcast fam. We're
Oh.
a part of that.
Oh.
And that's
I
where
like
I'm going
that.
with that. Like, when you're a part of a group or like a collective of something, you're a part of that fam. Like the baseball team, we're all fam.
So what type of emotional bond does it take to be fam? If the baseball team had not gotten along, would it have been fam?
Well, it's still. I think there's still like levels of fam. Like when you're fam, you're like really close. You're tight. You get along. But if you're fam, you're just like in a collective thing together. Like you're on the team together, but you're not really tight.
So how much you enunciate fam is how tight the bond is.
No, but it's funny, so we're gonna roll with it.
Are you immediately part of the fam by just being in the group?
Well, I mean, I feel like you kind of have to be like initiated. Like you're not part of
Sure.
a fraternity until you're what's the word?
That's right.
Like,
Initiated.
Initiated.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not really part of the fam, but you're
Invited.
You're fam, right?
It could be a work thing too. Like if John had a small business in for sales and I was to work there, I mean, I could be part of that work
But
fam.
Will, if like
The Morgan and Morgan
40-year-old
fam.
guys are calling themselves fam at work, is that cringe?
That is very cringe. That's not very skippity behavior, and
Definitely not fire. That's
no,
what I'm hearing.
definitely
fire.
not fire.
Okay.
Definitely no emoji.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
cap. No cap.
So what we've learned today is right here in this segment is the Andy Beshear Podcast fam.
We're all fam.
And all our listeners, you're part of the fam too. We've come to the end of one of my favorite episodes of the Andy Beshear Podcast. A big thanks to Coach Kelsey. A big thanks to Athletic Director Josh Heird. A big thanks to Will for teaching us even more Gen Z lingo. We'll see you next time for great guests, a conversation with the Johns, and who knows what we'll learn then. Remember, You can download us on all major platforms or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Andy Beshear Podcast. Your downloads and your subscriptions are what keep us going and keeps this conversation going. So make sure you're a part of it, and let's do this together.